It is general knowledge that the weight that challenged you before will not in the future as long as you are consistent. Essentially, our muscles and joints adapt to the load and stress they face. You don't need to spend a lot of time exercising to know this. A teenager only needs 3 weeks doing push-ups to notice a big contrast from his first day. Because of this, the term progressive overload is not hard to grasp to anyone that has worked out. But why is it that most beginners see the weight or load we should do as something that changes according to each person and over time, not fixed and not absolute, while they don't have the same perspective on volume and frequency or anything else that involves training? Adaptation comes to everything. If a complete sedentary beginner were to do the same exact program that somebody who has 3 years doing calisthenics does without any changes, he will probably be doing too many exercises, sets, and reps. After all, his body is not accustomed to it. He will probably not be able to keep up with the frequency of the training program and he may injure himself. And maybe because of that, he understands or maybe gets told that anything over 16 sets per muscle group is junk volume. It is useless doing too many sets and reps and maybe it will injure him. And it is true, at least in his circumstances. But the problem about this, even if it's true to him at that moment, is that at least at some point it will become untrue. He will inevitably adapt and 16 sets will no longer be junk volume to him. He may need more sets and reps in the case of pure calisthenics to see results. However, he simply doesn't notice. He got told that anything over 16 sets is junk volume and he took it at face value, without any introspection and nuance. And it makes sense. He is a beginner, but inevitably what will happen is that if he doesn't realize or changes that, he will stay in the same place, stagnated. Only if he understood that adaptation comes to everything, he wouldn't have faced this problem. Many times words like volume, frequency, along with intensity or load, seem to be things that just are, like a rock in your jar that is always the same as you step out of your home. But in reality, they are not fixed things or real things. In the same way, a rock will be real. When people say that a rock is hard, there is no question about it. It doesn't change if I touch it or if anybody else touches it. It is hard. In the same way that a rock is hard no matter who touches it, it seems that most beginners who are introduced to these words like volume, frequency, and intensity, or load, or even any training concept seem to see these words or concepts as a rock, something objective and unchangeable, at least in your perception. But in contrast with the rock, these concepts or words change depending who it is exactly the person who concerns it. And not only that, but they also change according to the relationship between themselves and many other factors that maybe are not accounted for. Imagine if a rock changed its hardness depending on who touches it and the environment it comes from. It will be hard to account for, right? Words like volume, frequency, load, junk volume, progressive overload are simply metrics. They don't exist in the real world, and how much of them you should do or the best amount you should do is up to you and your own physical state, which is something that adapts over time. Even if these words don't represent anything real like a rock, they are subjected to the reality of our physical state and the difference between each one of us. This makes it so advice or general guidelines about volume, frequency, and intensity, or load, if not nuanced, to be seen as something absolute and fixed, unchangeable. This doesn't mean that general advice and guidelines are wrong. It simply means that they should be looked at as that, instead of the best, which is what beginners are attracted to. They are a starting point. The problem is that they are not fixed and absolute, and maybe one of the most important things is that this doesn't take into account the possibility of adaptation, whether it be the amount of reps you can do, the load you can do, even the frequency you will adapt. And such adaptation may mean that in the future it will not be enough for you. Yet we tend to only see this when it comes to the weight you can manage. I find this to be more detrimental in calisthenics than weightlifting. If somebody that wants to get good at something like the muscle up doesn't increase or adjust its frequency or volume over time, he will simply not go go anywhere. If he trains once per week of muscle ups and does 1 rep of 8 sets, it may be fine in the beginning. After all, his max set is 2 reps, and because of the challenge that muscle ups mean to him, it means that he needs a lot of recovery between sessions. But imagine if he never changed that as he adapts. He will be stuck doing the same thing. Maybe he can do twice per week now that he has adapted, but hasn't done it yet. Or maybe he can simply do more reps per set but hasn't done it. Somebody said that he must do 1 rep of 8 sets and he took it at face value. The same fixed view of these things also affect how you see some exercises. Maybe a way of training is deemed shit to you because it requires more cardio than the usual, or you consider an exercise optimal only because it requires more flexibility. Well, your cardio can adapt over time and your flexibility too. So what makes them so unwelcoming to you or unworthy of doing them? Once you adapt to them, they will no longer be something to worry so much about. You might be missing out on some exercises just because of that, or even the benefits of cardio. Ultimately, you will never get better cardio if you don't do cardio. And the same applies to flexibility. Even training under uncomfortable weather is something that you can adapt to. Adaptation comes to everything, and that also means that the amount of volume and frequency you should do and other training stuff can also change over time, not only the load you can manage. So don't be so stiff on your own training. Experimentation with volume and frequency and other things in your training may be bad for short-term results, but overall it will give you a better understanding of your own physical capabilities.